You're lying in bed. It's 11:30 at night, and the harsh blue light from your phone is burning your retinas because you're doing the exact same thing millions of other people are doing right now. You're scrolling through Zillow. You're looking at this house. It's got beige carpets, a kitchen straight out of 2004, maybe a weird smell you can sense just through the photos, and the price tag says $500,000. You make good money, like solidly in the six figures. But you're lying there, doing the mental math, feeling this tight, suffocating knot in your stomach, wondering how on earth you're supposed to afford this without eating ramen for the next 30 years. You genuinely think you're doing something wrong. But here's the twisted part. You're not. The math is rigged, and you are walking completely blind into the most normalized financial trap in America. Look, I've been in the financial world for 3 decades. I've seen bubbles pop, I've seen markets crash, and I've seen trends come and go. But what is happening right now to people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s is something entirely different. It's an epidemic of high-income poverty, and it's being disguised as the American dream. We've been sold this incredibly toxic narrative since we were kids, that buying a house is the ultimate finish line of adulthood. Your parents tell you renting is just throwing money away. Your friends are all posting pictures with keys in front of freshly painted doors. The society tells you that as your income goes up, your visible footprint in the world is supposed to expand right alongside it. On the surface, this makes sense. But in reality, this exact mindset is what keeps incredibly smart, high-earning people dead broke. Let me introduce you to Marcus and Sarah. They are a perfectly normal couple, pulling in a combined $160,000 a year. A decade ago, that kind of money meant you were rich. Today, in most major metro areas, it means you're just treading water. Marcus and Sarah were tired of their apartment, tired of feeling like they were falling behind their friends. So they went to a mortgage broker. The broker punched their numbers into a system, smiled, and told them they were pre-approved for a $500,000 home. They celebrated. They thought they had made it, and Marcus didn't realize this until it was too late. But that pre-approval letter wasn't a ticket to wealth. It was a pair of golden handcuffs. But here's where it gets interesting, and it's the part the real estate industry prays you never figure out. When you buy that $500,000 house, you don't actually just pay $500,000. Unless you have $100,000 sitting in cash for a 20% down payment, which almost nobody does, by the way, since the median savings account in this country is sitting at around $8,000. You're putting down maybe 5 or 10%. So right out of the gate, you are hit with private mortgage insurance. It's literally a poverty tax. You are paying hundreds of dollars extra every single month for an insurance policy that protects the bank, not you, just because you weren't wealthy enough to begin with. So Marcus and Sarah signed the papers. Their mortgage, with current interest rates, is hovering around $2,800. But that's not even the real problem. The real problem is the structural bloat that nobody warns you about. You have to add $500 a month for property taxes. Add $300 for homeowners insurance, which is skyrocketing, by the way. Add another $400 for basic maintenance, because sooner or later, the water heater is going to explode at midnight on a Sunday. Suddenly, that manageable mortgage is pulling over $4,300 out of their checking account every single month. After taxes and basic retirement contributions, Marcus and Sarah are taking home maybe $9,000. Nearly half of their actual usable money vanishes before they even buy groceries, put gas in their 2 cars, or pay their student loans. And this is where everything starts to break. Because Marcus isn't just broke on a spreadsheet. He is becoming cognitively impaired. When you are spending half your take-home pay on a house, you lose your financial buffer. And there is fascinating psychology around what a lack of buffer does to the human brain. It physically shrinks your mental bandwidth. It's like running a computer with too many background tabs open. Marcus lies awake at 2 a.m., wondering if he can afford to fix the brakes on his car this month, or if he needs to put it on a credit card. He is making $160,000 a year, and he is terrified of a $500 mechanic bill. He has become a highly paid hostage to his own living room. What almost nobody realizes is that the housing market doesn't care about your budget. Sellers list homes at exorbitant prices because they know the bank will approve you at a 43% debt-to-income ratio. Real estate agents encourage you to stretch your budget because their commission depends on the closing price. Literally nobody in the transaction has an incentive to look you in the eye and say, "Hey man, you are about to financially drown yourself." The system is perfectly engineered to get you into the house. It is not designed to ensure you can actually sleep at night once you're living there. And this is the part that should worry you, because once you are in, you are trapped. You can't just change your mind 6 months later and walk away without completely destroying your credit and losing your down payment. So people stay. They stay in homes they can't afford, grinding away at jobs they absolutely hate, because they cannot risk even a 2-week disruption in their income. Every time Marcus's boss drops a completely unreasonable project on his desk at 5 p.m. on a Friday, Marcus has to swallow his pride and say yes, because he knows the mortgage payment is coming on the first of the month. He traded his autonomy, his flexibility, and his peace of mind for some granite countertops and a yard he's too exhausted to mow. Now, I want to show you the flip side of this. I want to tell you about David. David makes the exact same money as Marcus. They sit 2 cubicles apart. But a few years ago, when David hit that income level, he looked at the housing market, ran the actual math, and made a decision that confused everyone he knew. He completely opted out. He looked at the $500,000 starter homes, shook his head, and signed another lease on a decent, unpretentious apartment for $2,000 a month. His coworkers told him he was throwing money away. His parents gave him that disappointed, concerned look. But David understood something that most people spend their entire lives missing. He understood that the greatest financial superpower a human being can possess is the ability to absorb success in absolute silence. He decoupled his lifestyle from his paycheck. By renting, David capped his housing costs. When his apartment's AC broke in the middle of July, he didn't panic. He called the landlord. His housing cost was exactly $2,000, never a penny more. Meanwhile, Marcus's housing cost was $4,300, plus whatever randomly broke that month. David took that massive $2,000 plus difference every single month, and he aggressively pushed it into index funds and a high-yield savings account. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think David is depriving himself. They look at him still living in an apartment, and they pity him, thinking he's falling behind. But if you could look inside David's head, you wouldn't see deprivation. You would see profound, unshakable power. Because David has built a massive liquid cash reserve. He has something I call walkaway power. When David sits in that same meeting with the toxic boss, his heart rate doesn't even spike, because he knows with absolute mathematical certainty that he could stand up, hand in his badge, and survive for 3 years without working a single day. He doesn't give off the desperate scent of a guy who needs the next paycheck to cover a massive mortgage. And here is the brutal irony of the corporate world. Because David genuinely doesn't need them, they want him more. He negotiates better. He takes risks. He pitches bold ideas because he isn't operating from a place of fear. We are biologically wired for social comparison. It's in our DNA to look at the tribe around us and make sure we are keeping up. Because thousands of years ago, if you fell behind the tribe, you died. So when you see your friends buying these massive houses, your brain screams at you that you are failing. But you have to fight that instinct. You have to realize that you are comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to their highlight reel. You see their freshly painted front door on Instagram. You don't see the massive credit card debt they are hiding from each other just to furnish the guest bedroom. I see people all the time who are paralyzed by future regret. They are terrified that if they don't buy a house right now, they will be priced out forever. And yeah, maybe prices keep going up, but you know what's 1,000 times worse than being priced out of a neighborhood? Waking up at 55 years old, looking around at a house full of stuff you barely even notice anymore, and realizing you traded the absolute prime of your life to pay interest to a bank. Realizing you never took that chance to start a business, never took that 6-month sabbatical to travel, never spent real time with your kids when they were young, all because you were chained to a mortgage you had no business signing in the first place. Look, I am not telling you that buying a house is inherently bad. Obviously, real estate can be a powerful wealth-building tool, but it is only powerful if you buy it on your terms, with massive margins of safety. If you were looking at a house right now, and the monthly payment is going to eat 40% of your take-home pay, I don't care what the bank says. I don't care what your realtor says. You have to stop. Just stop. You have permission to rent. You have permission to live below your means. You have permission to let people think you aren't as successful as you actually are. Because the ultimate luxury in this life is not a zip code. It's not a kitchen island. The ultimate luxury is having options. It is the ability to sleep through the night when the stock market crashes or when the economy gets weird, knowing that you have a fortress of liquidity standing between you and disaster. The next time you find yourself scrolling Zillow at midnight, feeling that familiar wave of anxiety, I want you to turn the phone off. I want you to look at the life you have right now. Are you optimizing for the spreadsheet, or are you optimizing for your actual freedom? The real estate industry wants you house poor because it keeps the wheels of the economy turning. But you don't have to be the fuel for their machine. You can step off the ride. You can choose to be invisible, rich on paper, and completely untouchably free in reality. The choice is yours, but the longer you wait to make it, the more the system makes it for you.